Thank you for staying and listening to the last part of our workshop today, which is on fostering and creating masajid that are not only legally sound and healthy in terms of their governance, but have a healthy culture, have a culture that invites people in, that makes people want to be a part of your community, a place where people feel they belong. And that's the project we worked on for the past 2 years at the Institute for Social Policy and Understanding, for which I am Director of Research. Assalamu alaikum, my name is Dalia Mogahid, and I'm so happy to be here with you this afternoon. So very quickly to introduce our think tank for any of you who have not heard of it, who are not familiar. ISPU conducts objective, solution-seeking research that empowers American Muslims to develop their community and fully contribute to democracy and pluralism in the United States. And we do that by making impact in 3 areas: social policy, public policy, and thought leadership. In the first, we help the American Muslim community develop. In the second, we help make sure American Muslims can fully contribute to society. And in the final one, we provide a platform for innovation and strategic thinking. And we do that by doing 3 things. We do the research, rigorous academic research at the gold standard in the industry. But we don't stop at research. We also educate the public, and we enable practitioners to make better decisions with better research. So this project that I'm so excited to share with you today is one that ISPU took on several years ago, and really it was in response to a need, a growing need of young people, of women, of converts, of a lot of other people who felt that their masajid were not places that they felt comfortable. Their masajid were not places they felt they belonged. That there was this growing movement of, quote, the unmosqued. And it wasn't that people didn't care about their faith. It wasn't that they just simply weren't interested in being a part of a mosque. It was different. As they felt they didn't have access. They felt that they didn't belong. So why do mosques matter? Why does it matter for people, for us to care about, sitting here together and thinking about how to bring people back to the mosques? Well, mosques are good for society. Mosques are actually good for America, contrary to what you may have heard on cable TV. Mosques make people better citizens. So frequent mosque attendance is linked to more volunteerism. People are actually working together to solve problems in their communities if they go to a mosque more frequently. These 2 things are linked. Better mental health outcomes, less anger and less sadness is linked to going to a mosque more frequently. And finally, higher civic engagement. People who attend a mosque once a week or more are more likely to vote and to be involved in their democratic systems. And yet, mosques often are alienating to many people, many parts of our community, including women, converts, and young people. So the challenges, there are all these benefits, aside from the obvious spiritual benefits of going to a mosque. What are the challenges? Many young adults, women, and converts feel alienated from mosques. Mosque leaders also complain about the lack of volunteerism, the lack of giving back, and the lack of commitment of people who attend the mosque. And finally, mosque attendees complain about the lack of unity, the lack of a sense of belonging. So, what makes mosques welcoming? When you have a welcoming mosque, what happens? Why should you care as a mosque leader, as a board member, as an imam? Why should you want your mosque to be welcoming? What do you gain from that? Well, at least these things happen. Why make your mosque welcoming? Because it increases volunteers. because it sustains your donors, because it increases cleanliness. People actually clean up after themselves. It increases spiritual engagement. It promotes stronger, more vibrant communities. It builds hubs for hope. It makes the mosque a place that is a service to society. It provides sanctuaries of support in what many people feel today is a hostile political and social environment. And it grows the next generation of Muslim Americans. So how did we find answers? We want to develop a vision for the prophetic mosque as a guide and a goal, and we want to do good research. So this project, the overview, the overall goal of reimagining Muslim spaces was to produce research-driven recommendations for mosques that are both welcoming and a hub for hope, a place that's inclusive and engaging, and a place that is a source of service to the community. And we're only going to be talking about the first goal in this specific presentation, but if you're interested in the second on service-oriented mosques, please visit our website at ispu.org/RMS, where you can read about that part of the project. Now, we accomplished this in the following ways. First, we did an extensive literature review. We looked at what other faith communities were doing in their congregations to make their places of worship more engaging to really the same demographics that we were looking at. We did focus groups across the country of Muslims, from diverse backgrounds, including mosque leaders. We did an analysis of every available poll of American Muslims. We also did one-on-one interviews that were in depth of mosque leaders and mosque attendees. And we got advice from a diverse task force of experts. So the outcome of that research is a report called Creating a Welcoming, Inclusive, Dynamic Mosque. And you can grab the executive summary of that report outside, and you can read the whole report on our website. We also created case studies on communities that had created these service projects within their mosque to create a mosque that serves humanity as a whole. So you can find out real life, this isn't theory now, real life situations of communities who built a job training center or a health clinic. And you can find out their successes as well as their struggles and learn from that experience. We also have a community toolkit on our website and links to other resources. And you can get all of that at ispu.org/RMS. And these are our case studies, as I mentioned, for a service-oriented mosque. This was our research team. Dr. Ihsan Begbi, who's really one of the leading scholars on mosques in America, was our primary investigator. And we had a number of other researchers, and I was the director of research overseeing the project. We also had some wonderful, well-known names on our task force. People like Hazem Bata, who was the Secretary General of ISNA, Hind Mekki, who has been writing extensively on women and mosques, and Sarah Saeed, who has also done the same. Maryam Iskandari, one of the leading architects of mosque design in America, and others. So, project findings. What did we discover by doing all of this research? Well, first, let's talk about who this community is. Let's just start by laying out some facts. American Muslims are by far the youngest community in America, the youngest faith community. Almost a quarter of American Muslims are between the ages of 18 and 24. The median age for American Muslims is a full 25 years younger than the average median age. So a very young community. Now, young people in the general public are less likely than their elders to attend a religious service once a week. They're also less likely than their elders to say religion's important. So this issue of religious communities losing their young people is not unique to Muslims. But there is something different about the Muslim community. Young Muslims are also less likely than their elders to attend a mosque or a religious service once a week. But what is different about young people in the Muslim community is they're just as likely to say religion's important. So their lack of attendance, or the fact that they're going less frequently than their elders, is not because they value their faith any less. There is something else going on. So unlike their age peers or their generational peers in other faith communities, Muslim young people value their faith very highly. I mean, if you compare 18 to 29-year-olds in the general public, where 56% say that their faith is important, and Muslim young people in the same age group, where 91% say their faith is important. Their faith is there, but there is something missing in their engagement with the mosque. Muslims are also by far the most ethnically and racially diverse faith community in America. We're the only faith community with no majority race. Every other faith community is predominantly white, as you can see, but Muslims are really a mix where at least a quarter of us identify as black, 24% identify as white, 18% identify as Asian, and 18% as Arab. And then we have 7% that just call themselves or identify as mixed race, and then 5% who identify as Hispanic. And these numbers, vary depending on the poll, but what we know is that we have no majority race. There is not one race that can say they are the majority. With this kind of diversity is opportunity. It can also create tension, and I think it's important to understand that this project is not, or what my presentation today will not look at inclusivity of race. It's an incredibly important part of the conversation. It's not a part of this presentation, but we do have a report on getting race right in our communities and in our mosques on our website, and I encourage you to look at that. Another way we're diverse, besides the fact that we're racially diverse and we're also very young, is that half the community was born outside the United States and half was born inside the United States. So there's diversity in immigrant status as well. There's sort of different opinions on Muslims' economic base. And what we actually found out is that Muslims were the most likely faith community in America to report low income. So more than a third of our community has a household that is living below the poverty line. We also have a lot of rich Muslims, so there is incredible economic disparity in our community. And it's interesting, this economic disparity lines up, like the rest of America, with our racial diversity. It's a function of being in America that racial diversity is reflected in economic disparity as well. So now we're going to zero in on the three groups that we are having such a more sort of challenges with their engagement in the mosque, starting with young people. The two most prevalent sentiments among young people when we talk to them about positive experiences in their mosque, what actually makes things work when they're there, is that a mosque is relevant and it's dynamic, and I'll explain what that means. So for young people, a direct quote from one of the focus group participants was, "They give extremely relevant khutbahs. So every time it seems that it's not some really abstract concept, it's usually something that's very relevant and they can actually implement things that they see every day in their lives. I just want something that's relevant." So how do you stay relevant? Attracting young people back to the mosque. Mosques must invite inspiring, knowledgeable speakers and khatibs who can speak eloquently and powerfully to the topics of interest in the community, whether the topic is spiritual or worldly. Khutbahs in particular need to be regularly evaluated. You can actually implement feedback. You can find out when it works and when it doesn't. Be dynamic with a sense of mission. So the dynamic masjid offers numerous opportunities for participants to become involved, and as a result, the mosque feels alive, vital, exciting. So what people are searching for is meaning. That's why people volunteer. That's why people get involved in things that they're not being paid for. It is, in fact, I mean, even now psychological research shows that the search for meaning and the striving to achieve, to find meaning is one of the most powerful motivations in the world. So to have the mosque be a platform for this, where you're offering people a way to give back, a way to serve. So be dynamic. Develop a clear understanding of the mosque's mission, which is tied to the vision of Islam and the prophetic mosque. Conduct a strategic planning process to identify this mission. Identify interests and facilitate the formation of small groups. So one of the most successful models we've seen is when masajid provide platforms for young people to do their own programming. And it's not about figuring out what they want. It's not about entertaining them. It's about simply being a place that offers them a way to do their own organizing.